This is Will Stewart from OnlineChessLessons.net, and I'm going to be looking at a game from the 2007 World Blitz Cup. With the white pieces, we got Magnus Carlsen weighing in, and with the black pieces, Anatoly Karpov. So this is a pretty cool game because Carlsen's style, really more than anybody, it reminds me of Karpov and how he always plays prophylactically and controls the opponent. So we're going to be opening up here, and Carlsen knight f3, normal stuff, and Karpov throws out the Petrov defense with knight f6, the Russian game from the Russian legend. And so now just standard theory in the Petrov defense. And after knight takes e4, Carlsen plays knight to c3. This is the Nimzovich attack, and this has become pretty popular these days. You don't really see too many GMs, too many super GMs at least, playing the Russian game. Although I do recall Anish Giri busting it out, so if you want to check out some games for black with the Petrov. And so this move, knight to c3 by Carlsen, the Nimzovich attack, this is pretty good. I like to play this a lot myself. It's pretty easy to play. You don't need to learn so much theory, just a couple of basics in the opening. And so for black, he plays his knight d7. It looks a little strange not to put the knight directly on c6. However, from d7 we have a lot more options for the knight. We can go to a lot of different squares here. And so white, one thing to really keep in mind is you want to delay developing your light square bishop, because that's something, the earlier you develop it, the earlier it is for black to attack it, honestly. Bishop d3 allows this knight to c5, and black is going to go after those two bishops. So bishop to f4, this is pretty much the customary place to put the dark square bishop, and it stops black from exchanging pieces with knight e5. Now simply queen to d2, still waiting to develop the white square bishop, and castling queenside. And so why I like the Nimzovich attack is because you always get some interesting play. Even though it's a relatively, it's pretty straightforward type of position with the opposite side castling here. Black is probably going to try to attack on the queen side or possibly in the center. And the basic plan for white is to play h4, usually knight to g5, and try to sack a piece or get some kind of kingside attack. And so let's see. So knight to c5. This is a nice place for the knight. Controls some good squares here in the center. And so white just plays h4. So again, he's delaying the development of the white square bishop. And so after rook to e8, I think Carlsen just said, I can't really wait anymore. I need to get this bishop in the game. And he plays bishop c4. And, well, okay, bishop c4 is a good move. It's certainly active. And the move c6, trying to prepare d5, it doesn't quite work. White can just, looks like he can get away with maybe taking d6. This looks pretty sharp. But maybe he can get away with it. Some tactics on f7 and stuff like that. Anyway, just an idea. White doesn't have to take the pawn. He could also do something else. Maybe a3, for example. Come back. And so anyway, in the game here, Karpov, he just plays more simply. He plays bishop e6. And pretty much he forces the exchange of bishops. And also, it's going to kind of position his knight a little bit to attack here, attack white's bishop, and kind of defend a little bit on the king side. And so Carlsen, he wants to keep the bishop in this kind of open position. The bishop is worth a lot. And so he just comes back here. And so now we see black start to put together a plan. He does play c6, so getting ready to play d5. And so white simply stops him from playing d5. However, the white pawn on c4 is a little more exposed here, as we're going to see. So black plays a6. This is a typical pattern in the Petrov defense, this Nimzovich attack. White is trying to undermine, or white is trying to stop d5, and black is trying to play in the center and on the queen side. And so we see knight to g5, so nice move, starting to put a little bit of pressure here on black's king. And so Karpov, he strikes in the center, strikes to undermine c4, wants to play d5. And if white takes here, white doesn't really have a lot of good options, in this position, a lot of good natural options. If he takes, black captures with the a pawn, and now he's got an active rook, and he plays d5 and a huge center as well. It's not looking too good for white. But Carlsen comes up with an interesting solution. So he plays queen to d3, which defends the pawn and also threatens some checkmates here on h7. And Karpov, he really didn't want to take here on g5 the entire game because it just, strategically, white just has such a long-term attack. You really don't want to open the h-file for him. However, after knight f8, this is a pretty passive defense, and Carlsen comes up with a nice move, queen to f5. And so now things are getting a little bit difficult for black. He still really doesn't want to take here just because of the long-term ramifications of the open h-file. But maybe it was getting necessary. Also, white has ideas like bishop d4 and sacrificing a piece. It's still a pretty sketchy position for black. So he didn't want to do that, so he plays f6 instead. And it's kind of an awkward defense. We see knight to e6, so Carlsen continues pushing forward. And so now we see queen to c8. And so that pretty much forces knight to d4. And so Karpov, instead of trading queens, which would give white an awesome knight here on f5 and excellent pressure on d6, instead Karpov just snatches the c4 pawn. And so, okay, so white has kind of an abstract attack here. It's not incredibly clear how he's going to try to break through. Is he going to play h5 and lift a rook to attack on the third rank? How is he going to, how is white going to justify his pawn sacrifice? And so Carlsen starts with queen f3. It's a twofold move. First, we pretty much force black to play d5 to defend the c6 pawn. And also, it avoids the queen trade and vacates the f5 square, so white's getting ready to play knight f5. And so still, not incredibly clear, if white does have enough compensation for the pawn, but he's starting to get there. The knight is pretty sketchy for black here. So black plays rook b8, and he's trying to get some activity. It was definitely dangerous there. And white, I guess he's trying to discourage g6 and just a nice clamp here. And so now queen to b7, and well, basically a nice threat. And here a very nice move. Bishop d4, and this is really nice. This is a great idea. It really shows how the bishop can combine long-range attack and defense, and really slows down black's attack here. And so here knight e6. So Karpov, he's game to fight. He's trying to put pressure. He's trying to defend, maybe open up f8 for the bishop, and definitely attacking. But white, Carlsen just jumps on it. Now he's threatening some mates here, and that's not very comfortable. And so pretty much forces bishop f8. More or less, I think so. And now, Carlsen doesn't let up. He wins a pawn. The bishop's still defending. And so now black, he tries c5 to play d4. Really going to shut this bishop off. And, then black's attack is very dangerous. However, rook e1. And so now Carlsen is threatening a very nice tactic. Let's say if push, he might be trying to play maybe rook takes e6. If rook takes some kind of check here. It looks a little sketchy with all these checks, but I think it's okay. Say in this position with this nice mate threat, let's say check. Check. And it looks like the checks are going to stop. King e2, and maybe just king e1. And although black has a very dangerous attack, white is going to be getting there first. He's got way too many checkmates just hanging out in this position. And after another check, black is out of checks. So that variation should kind of illustrate the danger that black is in now. This c5 and d4 plan was a little bit slow. Maybe instead of c5, a move like king h8 was better. Although maybe this runs into a similar tactic, maybe knight h6. This looks like a pretty nice idea here, followed by rook e1. The idea is that he can't take, he gets mated. So after bishop takes f6, c5, this is a slow move, right? And Carlsen keeps turning up the heat here. Rook e1, Black does play d4, and now Carlsen throws a little curveball. Instead of playing rook takes e6, which this really does get a little crazy. I mean, this is a different way to play it too. Queen takes b2, and now after this check, you know, it's not that easy. White might have to try to get a perpetual here or something with this move, or you know, Black at least has a great counterattack. You know, let's say king here, he takes with check. That's a big problem. And now, you know, White wouldn't have enough here. So anyway, you know, it's a moot point. I mean, after d4, Carlsen has one more trick to slow Black's attack down, and it works. You know, b3 really stops everything on the b file. And so now Karpov's got to come over here and defend the knight on e6. And, you know, if takes, possibly now rook takes could work, or maybe just play the simple move. And, you know, Black's attacks run out of steam, it looks like. And so in this position, Karpov tries to defend, d7. See, bishop takes g7. This is probably a tactic that he missed in his defense with the c5 and d4 move. This was a blitz game, so I think it's like a 5-minute game. So pretty nice game. So anyway, so here Carlsen, he sacks a piece temporarily on g7. He plays h6, so he's definitely going to get the piece back. And he's got a very nice advantage with the knight on f5. And so now Karpov tries to set up a defense, but it's got a hole in it. After pawn takes g7, well, he's threatening mate here, so Black's got to capture the pawn. He takes, and now after queen takes g7, in this position, very nice tactic. This queen takes g7, and now simply rook takes e8 check, and Black is losing a piece. So pretty nice tactic. And in this position, you know, it's pretty overwhelmingly good for White here. I think Karpov was counting on, after knight takes, I think he was counting, you know, with this rook b7 move, I think he was counting on rook takes e8 check. And now the rook is defending the knight. And Black has reasonable chances here. He's doing okay. Yeah, so I think that was kind of the idea there. And if queen takes, he takes. And we have the game continuation. Here, up a knight, Karpov fought on for a couple moves. h5, and Carlsen played rook h1, just lethal. Just nasty. And here Black resigned. If pawn takes, it's mate. And if he doesn't take, White is just going to take that, and well, he's got enough pawns and extra knight to win the game. So a really nice game by Carlsen. Really kind of shows his style. You know, he's not just a quiet positional player that's trying to draw or win every game. I mean, he really he's definitely capable of, you know, this type of game where he just seizes the initiative. A couple subtle moments in there where he had to defend a little bit with b3 to slow the opponent down, but you know, you really had the feeling that White, once he started attacking, was really in complete control of the game. So I thought it was interesting to see, you know, because Carlsen really embodies a lot of the positional style and technique that made Karpov so good back in the day as well. So it was Will Stewart from OnlineChessLessons.net, and thanks for tuning in.